how new generation businesses are scaling to millions. Before that, let's talk about what separates businesses that are stuck at the same revenue for years from the one that are quietly scaling to millions. It has nothing to do with working harder or hiring more people. This might feel a little uncomfortable. It is going to challenge a few things you have believed about business for a very long time. I need about 12 to 15 minutes of your full attention, and you will have a very clear picture what needs to change in your business and exactly how to change it. So, what is an old generation business? There is a very high chance you are running one right now. What does an old generation business actually look like? Everything is filled with manual work. Your outreach is manual, your follow-ups are manual, your content process is manual, your delivery is manual. There is no system running anything. You are personally involved in every single step, and because everything requires your hands on it, the business can only move as fast as you can move. Client acquisition. This is where it gets interesting. In most old generation businesses, the entire revenue depends on the founder actively going out and finding new clients. The moment you stop outreaching, the moment you stop posting, the moment you step away for even a few days, your pipeline dries up. You are the acquisition engine. Without you, nothing moves. But there is another version of this dependency that people do not talk about enough: referrals. A lot of business owners think they have solved acquisition problem because they are getting referrals. But if you really think about it, referrals are not a strategy. Referrals are luck dressed up as a business model. You have zero control over when they come, how many you get, or whether they will keep coming next month. You are sitting there hoping that someone thinks of you at the right time and sends a client your way. That is not a system, that is a dependency. It is one of the most dangerous ones because it feels like it is working until it suddenly stops. On top of that, there is no plan for retainer-based revenue. You close a client, you deliver the work, the client leaves. You are back to square one. Every single month starts from zero because there is no recurring model in place. So you are constantly in this cycle of closing, delivering, finishing, and then scrambling to find the next one. That cycle never ends because the structure of the business does not allow it to end. Then you look at pricing and it is the same story. Every client gets a different price. Every project has a different scope. You are making decisions on the spot based on how the conversation goes. There is no clarity on what you sell, at what price, and what is included. When your pricing is not structured, your delivery cannot be structured either because every project looks different. All of this leads to a business where everything is random and reactive. There is no rhythm to how the business operates. You wake up, you react to whatever comes your way. A client messages you, you react. A lead comes in, you react. There is no proactive plan. There is no cadence. Everything feels chaotic because it is chaotic. Now, if this sounds familiar, this is completely fine. Most businesses start here. The problem is not starting here. The problem is staying here. What is the problem with it? The biggest one is you hit your revenue ceiling very fast. There are so many hours in a day and there are only so many clients you can personally manage. Your capacity is directly tied to your time and your time has a hard limit. So when your time maxes out, your revenue maxes out. That is the ceiling. And it does not matter how talented you are or how good your service is. If the business depends on your time becomes the ceiling. Because of that, the founder is always the bottleneck. Every decision goes through you. Every client conversation goes through you. Every piece of work goes through you. The entire business depends on one person. And when that one person is unavailable for a week, the business either slows down or stops entirely. You think you are running a business, but if you remove yourself from it for 10 days and everything falls apart, what you really have is a very stressful job that you created for yourself. The revenue reflects this. There is a direct one-to-one correlation between hours worked and money earned. The moment you stop putting in the hours, the revenue reflects it immediately. You take a break, the numbers drop. You get sick, the numbers drop. You want to spend time with your family, guess what? The numbers drop. That is not a scalable business. That is self-employment with extra pressure. There is no predictable scaling strategy possible. This is the part that really traps people. Nothing is documented. Nothing is systemized. Everything lives in your head, so you cannot hire effectively because you cannot explain your own process to someone else. You cannot automate because nothing is structured enough to automate, and you cannot scale because scaling would require doing more of what you are already maxed out doing. You are stuck. And the result of all of this, no freedom. You started this business for freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, flexibility, but what you actually have is a business that cannot survive without your constant involvement. You cannot take time off without things falling apart, and that is not freedom, that is the opposite of it. This is the fundamental issue with old generation businesses. They have a ceiling built into their structure, and no amount of hard work can break through a structural ceiling. You need a different structure entirely. Now let's talk about what is a new generation business. First thing you notice about these businesses is that they are filled with systems instead of manual work. Every single manual task that was consuming the founder's time in the old model is either automated or has a standardized process to get it done in half the time, not slightly faster, half the time. When you take a task that someone was doing manually for an hour every day and you build a system around it, it either runs on its own or it takes 15 to 20 minutes with a clear process. That time compounds over weeks, months, and suddenly the founder has an entirely different relationship with their calendar. There are no client acquisition dependencies. There is a structured plan for scaling that does not depend on the founder personally reaching out to every prospect. The acquisition runs as a system. Leads come in, follow ups happen, conversations are initiated, all without the founder being involved in every touch point. And nobody is sitting around waiting for a referral to come through. The business is generating its own pipeline consistently, predictably, and independently. These businesses have also moved away from one-time projects. There is retainer-based revenue, monthly recurring revenue, predictable cash flow. You know what is coming in the next month. When you have that kind of predictability, it changes every decision you make. You hire differently, you invest differently, you plan differently, because you are not operating from a place of uncertainty every single month. Everything in these businesses has a cadence instead of reactiveness. Instead of waking up and reacting to whatever comes at you, there is a rhythm. Specific things happen on specific days. There are weekly cadences, monthly cadences. Nothing is left to chance. Every process in the business has a name, has a schedule, has an explanation of why it exists. So when someone new comes into the team, they do not need the founder to explain everything. The system explains it. Top of that, these businesses have unique positioning in the market. They are not trying to serve everyone competing on price. They have a sharp position. They know exactly who they serve, what problem they solve, and what makes them different from every other option in the market. That clarity alone separates them from the majority of businesses in their space. Then there is pricing, proper pricing and packaging structure. No custom codes, no making up numbers on call. There are defined packages. The client knows exactly what they are getting. The business knows exactly what it is delivering. Nothing is ambiguous. And because the packaging is clean, the delivery is clean. Because the pricing is structured, the conversations are structured. Everything connects. Now, here is the key part of all of this. These businesses are using AI to build and run these systems. This is not about spending hundreds of thousands on a massive team. This is about using the tools that are available right now to handle the work that used to require 5 or 10 people, or maybe 20 to 30 hours a week. AI for content workflows, AI for lead research, automations for CRM management, automations for client communication, automation for follow-up sequences. The technology exists. It is accessible. The businesses that are adopting it right now are pulling ahead very quickly from the ones that are still doing everything by hand. So let's talk about the tools these businesses are equipped with. Let's start with the content. In most old generation businesses, the founder is manually creating content, manually posting, manually managing every platform. In new generation businesses, there are automations handling repurposing, scheduling, and distribution. The founder creates the core idea or the core piece, and the system takes care of the rest. That alone frees up hours every week. Follow-ups. In the old model, you send a message to a lead and then you forget about it, or you remember 3 days later and by then the lead has gone cold. The new model, when a lead enters the pipeline, there is a sequence that follows up with them automatically. The right message, at the right time without anyone having to remember anything. Lead generation. Instead of the founder manually searching for prospects, there are systems identifying, filtering, and delivering qualified leads into the CRM on a daily basis. The founder wakes up and there are already people to reach out to. The research is done, the list is ready, and then everything flows into a CRM where every lead, every conversation, every stage of the pipeline is tracked. Nothing falls through the cracks because there is a system managing the entire flow. You can see exactly where every prospect is, what is the next step, and what needs attention. No more guessing, no more things slipping through. Client communication, onboarding sequences, check-in cadences, update templates. The founder is not typing a custom message to every client every time something needs to be communicated. There is a process, there is a system, and it runs consistently without the founder being the one pressing send every time. Delivery tasks are either documented or either automated or delegated with clear standard operating procedures. Team management runs on dashboards and SOPs, so everyone knows who does what, when, and how. And marketing runs on systems that distribute content, nurture leads, and manage campaigns without one person manually doing all of it. Now, I want to be clear about something. These are not complex enterprise level tools that cost a fortune. These are accessible systems that any serious business can implement right now. The gap between old generation business and a new generation is not access to these tools. The gap is the willingness to sit down and actually set them up. How to transition from old generation business to new generation business. This is the part that matters the most, not because the steps are complicated, but because it requires a fundamental shift in how you think about your business, which is letting go of the old belief. I mean genuinely letting go, not intellectually understanding that things needs to change while still operating the exact same way the next morning. There is this deeply ingrained belief that hard work equals success. I understand why it exists. It has been reinforced for decades, but here is the reality. Working 16 hours a day on tasks that could be automated or systemized in a fraction of the time is not discipline. It is inefficiency, and it is one of the biggest reasons businesses stay stuck at the same level year after year. Hard work matters. Of course it does. But the type of work matters more than the volume of work. Connected to that is the belief that more work means more revenue. It does not. More effective work means more revenue. Someone running a systemized business for 6 focused hours will consistently outperform someone working for 16 hours on manual tasks. One is leveraging system, the other one is leveraging time. The time has a ceiling, systems do not. Also, this belief that delegation and systemization is somehow bad. If you are not doing everything yourself, you are cutting corners. That you should be the one handling every task because nobody can do it as well as you. And maybe that is true right now, but the belief is exactly what keeps the business small. The most successful founders are not the ones doing everything. They are the ones who build systems that do everything, and they did that by letting go of the need to control every single detail. Once those beliefs are out of the way, the real work begins, and it starts with standardization. Every single process in your business needs a name, a cadence, and an explanation of why it exists. And most business owners cannot even list all the processes they run in a given week. They just do things. There is no documentation, there is no clarity. Everything is intuitive and in their head. So, what you do is you sit down and you map it out. How do you onboard a client? What happens from the moment they pay to the moment work begins? How do you deliver the service? What are the steps? How do you follow up with leads? How do you create content? How do you manage your pipeline? Everything gets documented step by step. That documentation becomes your standard operating procedure. And once you have those SOPs, every manual task goes through a simple filter. Can this be automated? Can this be delegated? Or can this be standardized to take half the time? One of those three has to be the answer for every single task in the business. After standardization comes pricing and packaging. This is where a lot of business quietly lose money without realizing it. You need a sharp target audience, not everyone who can pay. A specific type of client with a specific problem that you are exceptionally good at solving. You need sharp positioning in the market so people understand what you do, who you do it for, and why your approach is different. You need solid pricing in place, not custom codes for every conversation. A real price structure that reflects the value you deliver and does not change based on how confident you are feeling on the call that day. And you need proper packaging of your offers. Instead of customizing the scope for every client, you have defined packages. This is what you get. This is the investment. Clean, clear, professional. That structure changes everything about how the business operates. AI becomes a normal part of how the business runs, not a novelty, not something you experiment with once and forget about. Core part of the infrastructure. And because the manual work is now handled by systems and AI, the founder's time shift to the activities that actually create growth. Relationship building, strategy, scaling, not manual delivery, not repetitive marketing tasks, not chasing leads one by one. Founder is finally working on business instead of being trapped inside it. So, what is the dream outcome here? It looks like a business that runs without depending on the founder's consistent time. I want to be clear about what that means. It does not mean you stop working. It does not mean you disappear and collect checks. What it means is the business does not collapse when you step away. The leads still come in. The follow-ups still happen. The clients are still being serviced. The content is still going out. The revenue is still flowing because there are systems handling the operations. You build something that can sustain itself without you being present every single hour of every single day. That gives you the thing you originally started this business for: freedom. Not the version where you are your own boss, but completely trapped by your own creation. Real freedom, where you decide how your time is spent, where you choose what to focus on, where stepping away for a week does not mean the business falls apart, where you can invest your energy into growth instead of survival. Now, this transition does not happen overnight. It takes intention, patience, it takes a willingness to rebuild certain parts of your business from the ground up. But the business that are making this shift right now are the ones scaling, and the ones that refuse to change are the ones hitting the same ceiling year after year, wondering why nothing is moving. Here's what I would recommend. Go through your business this week. List every manual process. Run each one through a filter, automate, delegate, or standardize. Start with one, just one, get it systemized, then move to the next. And slowly, step by step, you will build something that grows without being dependent on you being present for every task, every conversation, every decision. That is the new generation. That is how these businesses are scaling to millions and millions. If this was valuable, let me know in the comment which part of your business you are going to systemize first. That is for this one today. Thank you, and make sure you subscribe the channel. We will keep on posting valuable pieces of content for you all, and we will keep on giving you the resources that you need to grow and scale your business.